to Dryland Systems, Waterland and Ecosystems, and Climate Change, Agriculture and Food Security, being the 3 CRPs that reside in resilient dryland systems. So a very brief introduction to those. I want to just say a little bit about the critical focus area on geospatial and modelling, which wasn't included originally, but I think it's appropriate I should say something. And then talk about Dryland Systems, a brief introduction to Dryland Systems and what will happen later in the week. So geospatial and modelling is a critical focus area. We are making progress on strengthening modelling capacity, and we've appointed a bioeconomic modeller recently who should be here somewhere. Just stand up, yes. So Dr. Ramalan will join us in a few months. So he's the new bioeconomic modeller. We have a number of new modelers in Africa and in Asia, so I think we are making some progress on that. We're actively supporting capacity building in the area of modelling and trade-off analysis through CCAFs and principally through AgMIP, which provides a lot of money, and there's a trade-off analysis meeting in Dubai later this year, and there's a modelling workshop training taking place in ICRISAT at the end of March. There is also some good work going on, particularly in West Africa, with Pierre and Dr. Martinez on GIS and the use of GIS tools, particularly in relation to dryland systems, and we're certainly talking about having some of that training in Asia as well to build on that. And we're now in the process of advertising explicitly for a geospatial GIS scientist. It's very obvious that we need somebody to lead this area, and progress has been too slow because of, essentially, I didn't appoint somebody earlier. So moving on to work planning and coordination. So this week I will deal principally with Dryland Systems. Dryland Systems is divided into 3 regions, and there are 3 regional coordinators. So for WCA, it's Pierre. Where's Pierre? So just stand up. So for those of you who don't know, Pierre leads Dryland Systems in West Africa. In East and Southern Africa, it's led by David Harris on that side. And in South Asia, it's led by Amari there. So those are my 3 principal regional coordinators, and they will do a lot of the work this week, or some of the work. We'll certainly work closely together. For Waterland and Ecosystems, that is led by Suhas Wani. So Suhas, you can stand up. There you are, you all know Suhas. And the climate change is being coordinated by Leven Klaassen. So Leven is there. And you'll hear from Suhas and Leven after me. I think there are some guiding principles that I want to see applied in the work planning in RDS. So one thing is to make sure the programs are global. Very easy for us, particularly in dryland systems where we're organized regionally to do everything in regions, but I think it's essential that we try and work plan on a global basis. That is the added value of a global CRP. Comparisons within regions and between regions. And so we have to be careful of that. We need as much as we can to focus on fewer areas, systems, etc. We're spread very thinly, and I think one of our challenges is to concentrate our efforts, and a system CRP I think actually needs that. And we have this window 1 and 2 money that Rajesh has talked about this morning, and I think there are a number of things we can do with that money, but one is we should always be looking to add value to existing bilateral activities. These are a lot of our work. There's ongoing work. Where they are in key CRP areas, then we should take advantage of the bilateral projects and use CRP money to try and enhance the outputs from those. But we do have to show in work planning what we use window 1 and 2 money for. So we're instructed by CRPs to make that clear. They want to know what that money is used for. We can use that money to initiate new priorities. So again, for some of the CRPs this week, we will be thinking about 2014 because the 2013 work plan is there already. And we need to think about how to invest that money. And as been said this morning, we know there are gaps. So we have to look about how we use that money in gaps, whether that is partners, whether that is new FTE, whatever. Another thing we have to be increasingly concerned about is promoting outputs to outcomes. Some CRPs, such as CCAFs, contractually oblige us to produce X number of outcomes a year and to produce X number of external impact assessments. over the course of 3 or 4 years. And I think, again, it's a place where window 1 and 2 money we can use to continue to make sure outputs are converted into outcomes. And we need to fund these impact studies as well that are ongoing and other ones in the future. But I think above all, we really have to, through the work planning focus on delivering these outputs in the next 18 to 24 months. And really this is about trying to do less better. And we're very conscious of how thin we're spread across a lot of things. And we need to really focus on delivering what's required. So very quickly for Dryland Systems, Syndicata-led, they're the lead partner. In the original proposal, ICRISAT is a major partner with about 29% of the proposed budget. There was partial approval in 2012 with this 1-year inception phase for $10 million. We do not yet have full approval. A proposal was resubmitted on the 26th of Jan, and you heard Frank say last week they hope and expect it will be approved at some point. We have 5 regional log frames, but we do not have a harmonized single log frames, and we don't have any intermediate development outcomes at the present time. So one of our immediate challenges in the next few days is to try and harmonize our activities so that we can then look at the work plan more closely. And at the present time, we're not entirely sure what the budget might be for Dryland Systems. So we will work on the 2012 budget of 1.7 million, and we'll work on the original base CRP budget of 3 million. And we'll just have to adjust that. I think we're fairly confident that once approval comes, the budget will be increased. So Global CRP has 5 regions. 2 here, 1 are in Central Asia under ICADA, and then South Asia, which ICRISAT coordinates, Eastern Southern Africa coordinated by ILRI, and Western Central Africa coordinated by ICRAF. And of course, our activities are all in these 3 regions. The conceptual framework and the strategic research frames are what actually the CRP director is now calling programmatic areas. It's actually broadly based on ICRISAT's strategic plan and the kind of concept of IMOD. So it's really based upon these kind of 2 domains where reducing vulnerability and mitigating risk is a major aim of farmers, and also sustainable intensification and diversification. And there is, of course, overlap, integration. They're not unique to any one area, but broadly that maps onto what ICRISAT did in the strategic plan. And there are 2 other thematic areas, one around innovation, partnerships, policies, and one around characterization, targeting, and M&E. So really 4 programmatic areas within Dryland Systems. And the bulk of the technology resides in these 2, SRT 2 and 3, but the enabling resides in the other 2. And I'm not going to go into detail of what those are, but there are 3 program activities in each one. The action sites, most of you have seen this before. So we have 2 action sites in South Asia, one in Rajasthan and one in around Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. There are 2 action sites in Eastern Southern Africa, one which is really a pastoral one in northern Kenya, southern Ethiopia, and this thing that's called the Chinyanga Triangle down on the borders of Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, and a bit of Zim. And in fact, we'll mostly be working in this one in Eastern Southern Africa. And then in West Africa, there are 2 transects, a north-south transect in Niger and Nigeria, and an east-west transect that's a bit of Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Mali. So those are the main areas that we work in. And as much as possible in the work planning, we will also be looking at how we can integrate across CRPs. So in many of these areas, there are CCAF sites, and in some of them, there are also WLE river basins. So the thing moving forward is how do we maximize our interactions and the advantage across scale. So just briefly this week, before Thursday, there will be some additional regional group meetings because we're still trying to get activities mapped into these programmatic areas because each region did this in their own way, and we need still to fully populate the template. There are still not enough activities in relation to the size of the budget. And then when we come to Thursday morning, We'll do a lot of stuff in small groups, and these will all be mixed global groups. We will not do anything on a regional basis. This is a global CRP. We want to get to know what we're all doing, so we'll do it that way. And provisionally, we'll probably start the session with a little bit about Dryland Systems and its outputs. And I think for those of you who are not directly involved, that maybe will help you understand a bit more about what the program is about. And then we will go through some sort of process about harmonizing proposed activities, identifying gaps and the means to fill them, and prioritization of activities, both in relation to budget scenarios and also to make sure that we have a significant proportion of global activities and not just regional activities.